Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The clock read 11:42 p.m. when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Groggy but awake enough to notice the name on the screen, I hesitated before answering. It was Mom. She rarely called unless it was urgent or, more accurately, unless she wanted something. "Hello," I said, suppressing a yawn. Her voice cut through the line, sharp and accusing. "Ember, I need to ask you something. Have you been sending us only $50 a month?" The question hit like a slap. I sat up, my pulse quickening. "What are you talking about? I've been sending $4,000 every month. Like I've always done." "Don't lie to me, Ember," she snapped, her tone cold and unwavering. "Hannah told us she's been the one sending that money. She even showed us the transfers. You think we wouldn't know?" My breath caught in my throat. "Wait, what? Hannah said that? She's been honest with us, unlike you. All this time we thought you cared about us, but you've been sending us scraps while she's the one helping with everything. It's shameful." I swung my legs over the side of the bed, suddenly wide awake. My heart pounded with a mix of confusion and anger. "Mom, I'm telling you, I've been sending $4,000 every month, not 50. Why would Hannah lie about this?" "I don't have time for your excuses, Ember. You've disappointed us enough." She hung up before I could say another word. I stared at the phone, my hands trembling. Disappointed them. The words echoed in my mind like a taunt. For years I'd sacrificed my savings, my comforts, to make sure they never had to struggle. And now they believed Hannah? I paced the room, adrenaline coursing through me. The disbelief was quickly morphing into a simmering rage. My sister, Hannah, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, had somehow managed to twist my parents against me. But why? I picked up the phone and dialed her number. It rang once, twice, before her voice came through, sweet and smug. "Hey sis, what's up?" "Cut the act, Hannah," I snapped. "Why did you tell Mom and Dad you've been sending them money? You know that's not true." There was a pause, and then she laughed, a light, airy sound that sent chills down my spine. "Oh, they just assumed, and I didn't feel the need to correct them. You know how they are, they love a good story. Hannah, this isn't a joke. They think I've been neglecting them while you play the hero. Do you have any idea how hard I've been working to send them that money every month?" "Relax, Ember," she said, her tone dismissive. "You're making such a big deal out of nothing. They don't care where it comes from as long as they get it. And honestly, it's not my fault they prefer me." I could feel the blood rushing to my head. "Prefer you? You're lying to them and they're eating it up. Do you have any idea how much they just tore into me over this?" "Maybe if you weren't so uptight, they'd like you more," she said, the smirk audible in her voice. The line went dead before I could respond. My hand trembled as I lowered the phone. I felt a storm brewing inside me. A storm of betrayal, anger, and something else I couldn't quite place. I glanced at the clock. Midnight now. I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. Somewhere deep inside, I realized this wasn't just about the money. It was about years of being overlooked, underestimated, and sidelined for Hannah's benefit. This was the moment I decided I wouldn't let them use me anymore. The next morning, I woke to another text from Mom. It was short but loaded with venom. "You've always been selfish, Ember. Don't bother calling unless you plan to apologize." Apologize? For what? My mind replayed our conversation, the accusations still ringing in my ears. I clenched my phone, biting back the urge to scream. I threw on a jacket and headed outside, the crisp morning air doing little to clear the storm in my head. I needed answers, and I needed them now. 20 minutes later, I was parked outside Hannah's apartment. My knuckles hit her door harder than I intended, the sound echoing down the quiet hallway. The door creaked open, and there she stood, radiant as ever in her silk robe, a cup of coffee in hand. "Well, if it isn't my favorite sister," she said, smirking. "We need to talk." I pushed past her before she could object. Hannah sighed dramatically, shutting the door. "You know, you could have called first." "I tried, but you hung up on me, remember?" I spun to face her, my voice trembling with restrained fury. "Why are you lying to Mom and Dad about the money?" She arched an eyebrow, leaning against the counter. "I told you, it's not a big deal. You're the one making it into some life or death drama. It is a big deal." I snapped, my voice rising. Do you have any idea what they said to me last night? They think I'm worthless, Hannah, and it's because of you. Her smirk faltered for a moment, but she recovered quickly. Oh please, they've always thought you were a bit disappointing. That's not my fault. The words hit like a slap, but I refused to back down. You're unbelievable. I've been breaking my back to help them, and you're taking credit for it. Why? What do you get out of this? She took a sip of her coffee, her eyes narrowing. Maybe I'm just tired of being the villain in this family. Maybe it's nice for once to be the one they're proud of. Proud? I repeated, disbelief thick in my voice. They're proud of a lie, Hannah. Do you even care about anyone but yourself? Her smile faded completely now, replaced by a cold glare. You should leave, Ember. Before you embarrass yourself any further. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. This isn't over. They'll find out the truth, and when they do, don't expect me to save you from the fallout. I left her apartment, slamming the door behind me. My chest heaved as I walked back to my car, anger and hurt battling for dominance in my heart. But as I slid into the driver's seat, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from my bank, a withdrawal I hadn't authorized. My stomach dropped as I opened the app. $4,000 gone. The name on the transfer read, Hannah B. Thompson. My hands trembled as I stared at the screen, my anger now mixing with a deep, gut-wrenching betrayal. She hadn't just lied, she'd stolen from me. I gripped the steering wheel, my jaw tightening. Hannah thought she'd won, but this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next afternoon, I sat at my desk, staring at the bank statement. The $4,000 transfer to Hannah mocked me like a slap across the face. Every penny I had sent to my parents, all of it, had been stolen. My hands trembled as I picked up my phone and dialed my bank's fraud department. After a long pause, the agent confirmed my worst fear. Ms. Ember, the funds were transferred using your online banking credentials. Unfortunately, because it wasn't flagged as unauthorized at the time, we're unable to reverse it. Thanks for nothing, I muttered, slamming the phone down. My pulse thundered as the pieces clicked into place. Hannah had access to my login information. She had borrowed my laptop a few weeks ago, claiming hers had crashed. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to my parents' house. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw their cars parked haphazardly, as if they'd been in a rush. My chest tightened. Something wasn't right. The moment I opened the front door, I heard raised voices from the living room. Don't tell me you've spent it all already, Hannah. My father's voice boomed, sharp and accusing. I didn't. Hannah's voice wavered, losing its usual confidence. I only used what was needed. The rest is somewhere. Somewhere? Mom's tone cut like a knife. We trusted you with that money. I stepped into the room, and all three of them turned to me. What's going on? I demanded, my voice slicing through the tension. Hannah's eyes darted toward me, wide and panicked. Ember, you're here. Perfect. You can explain the missing funds. Missing funds? I said, crossing my arms. Oh, you mean the $4,000 you stole from me? Silence fell like a guillotine. Mom and Dad exchanged confused glances before turning to Hannah. What is she talking about? Dad asked, his tone dangerously low. She's lying. Hannah snapped. She's trying to pin her financial problems on me. I pulled out my phone, opened the banking app, and shoved the screen in front of Dad. Explain this, Hannah. It's your name on the transfer. Hannah faltered, her face draining of color. It's not what it looks like. Then what is it? I pressed, stepping closer. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been lying, stealing, and pretending to be the golden child, while throwing me under the bus. Mom looked at Hannah, her voice trembling. Is this true? Did you take Ember's money? Hannah stammered, I only borrowed it. You told me you needed extra for the mortgage. Dad's fist slammed on the coffee table. Don't blame us for this. You said you had everything under control. As the argument escalated, I watched their perfect illusion crumble. For the first time, they saw Hannah for who she truly was, a manipulative liar. But their next words stung deeper than I expected. Ember, Mom said, turning to me, you need to fix this. We're 2 months behind now. Can't you just send more? I stared at her, incredulous. Are you kidding me? After everything, you're still asking for more? Dad's voice softened. You've always been the responsible one, Ember. We know you can handle it. A bitter laugh escaped me as I grabbed my coat. You're on your own. I'm done being your ATM. I left, slamming the door behind me, their shouts echoing in my wake. My phone buzzed incessantly, the screen lighting up with the same name over and over again. Mom. I hesitated before swiping to answer. Her voice came through sharp and demanding. Ember, where is the money? We're behind because of you. I clenched the phone tightly. Because of me? I've been sending you thousands every month and you have the nerve to accuse me. Her silence was deafening, but then she scoffed. You stopped. That's the problem. Your sister is struggling and you're just ugling. Mom, Hannah has been lying to you. She isn't the one sending the money. I was, for years. And you didn't even bother to ask. A heavy pause. Then her voice hardened. Don't twist this around, Ember. You owe us. I owe you nothing, I snapped, my voice trembling with anger. I sacrificed so much while you doted on Hannah. Do you even care what it cost me? Before she could respond, I ended the call and tossed the phone onto the couch, my chest heaving. For years I had swallowed my pain, but now it felt like the weight was finally breaking me. The sharp knock at my door startled me. I opened it to find Layla, my best friend, holding 2 cups of coffee and an envelope. She stepped inside, her expression grim. I did some digging, Ember, Layla said, handing me the envelope. You're not going to like this. Inside were screenshots of Hannah's social media posts, pictures of expensive clothes, vacations, and dinners, none of which she could afford without my money. My hands shook as I read one caption. Thanks to my hard work, I can finally enjoy the finer things in life. She's using your money to fund her lifestyle, Layla said. And your parents are enabling her. Anger boiled within me, but I forced myself to stay calm. I'm done now. No more sending money. They can figure it out without me. Layla nodded. Good. But you need to make it clear to them. No loopholes. No guilt trips. I grabbed my phone and dialed my mother again. She answered on the first ring. I'm not sending another dime, I said firmly. Hannah's been lying to you, and I refuse to support her or you anymore. Ember, don't be ridiculous, she began. I mean it, I interrupted. You're on your own. For the first time, I felt a strange sense of freedom. As I hung up, I turned to Layla. It's over. They'll have to fend for themselves now. Good, she said with a grin. You deserve better, Ember. Now it's time for them to face the truth. I stood outside my parents' house, the chilly air biting through my resolve. The envelope Layla had handed me earlier felt heavy in my bag, a tangible reminder of the lies I was about to expose. My heart raced as I stepped inside, where the faint hum of the TV blended with the scent of my mother's cooking. Ember. My mother's voice rang out, surprised but guarded. She appeared in the hallway, her apron tied neatly, as if this were any ordinary day. My father followed close behind, his expression unreadable. I need to talk to you, I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. Before they could respond, Hannah sauntered into the room, her smile smug. Ember, you're just in time for dinner, she said, her tone dripping with false sweetness. I ignored her, pulling the envelope from my bag. Actually, I'm here to talk about this. I slapped the photos and documents onto the table. What is this? My mother asked, her brows furrowing as she picked up the papers. Her face paled as she scanned the screenshots. It's proof, I said, stepping closer. Proof that I've been the one sending you money all these years, not Hannah. She's been lying to you while using my sacrifices to fund her lifestyle. Hannah's smile faltered, but she quickly recovered. Ember, this is ridiculous. Are you really going to believe some doctored screenshots over your own sister? My father looked between us, his jaw tightening. Is this true, Hannah? She scoffed, crossing her arms. Of course not. She's just jealous, as always. Enough. My voice cracked like a whip, silencing the room. I've spent years trying to earn your approval while you handed everything to her on a silver platter. But this is too far. I pointed to the evidence. You've been living off my sacrifices while she takes the credit. My mother's lip trembled as she glanced at Hannah, then back at me. But why would she? She doesn't care about you, I said, cutting her off. Neither of you do. Not about me anyway. All I ever was to you was a backup plan. Hannah's facade finally cracked. Fine. So what if I lied? She snapped. They always loved me more, and you couldn't stand it. You're nothing but a bitter nobody trying to make yourself feel important. My mother gasped, but my father's face darkened. Hannah, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You lied to us? You let us think. Don't act like you didn't enjoy it. She shot back. You've always treated me like the golden child. I just played the part. The room fell into stunned silence. I turned to my parents, my chest tight. I'm done with all of you. This was my final attempt to make you see the truth. But now I realize it doesn't matter. You made your choice long ago. I turned to leave, but my mother's voice stopped me. Wait, Ember, please. I glanced over my shoulder. Her eyes glistened with tears, but it wasn't enough. Not anymore. I spent years begging for your love. Now I'm finally giving up. As I stepped into the cold night, a strange sense of relief washed over me. I had lost my family, but I had gained something far more valuable, my freedom. And as the door closed behind me, sealing them in their web of lies, I knew one thing for certain. I would never look back.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.